It's falling again. Starting off the video, it's falling. Okay. Y'all, excuse me. We're back with another video, one after another, same fit, same place. But we're gonna knock this out because it's been on my heart for a while. This one is about how I denounced my fraternity that I was a part of. So if you haven't already watched the prior video, this is a part of that video. I told you that there was a part where I denounced. It was whenever I started fasting and reading my Bible. I started getting into my Bible, so I'm gonna read it all the way through. So I'm gonna just give you a little bit about how that process went and what I was doing, what God told me, how I acted on what God told me, what I guess were some of the road bumps that I gave power to. And me being obedient, and that low-key I'm still giving power to until I post this. But yeah, so during this time, it was a desert season. God was he was doing what he willed with me, and I was learning to be obedient. I was learning a new presence of the Lord. I was learning reverence. I was learning the fear of the Lord, and I was in my word daily. I was in his presence daily, and I was seeking him truly, and I was reading the Bible from front to back. And at that time I had hit Exodus. So I hit Exodus, and this is the process of me going through Exodus all the way to Joshua. And you know, when it starts off, if you don't really understand, or you're not in your word like that, or if you just have a self-image of yourself, you don't realize that when you're reading it, you're like, the Israelites, you keep screwing up. I feel like I'm reading the same story on repeat. Like, what's going on, Israel? You got this. You could do better. But Jesus explained to me, like, God, oh my gosh. Y'all, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm not gonna lie. My wife got this to do content, and I'm over here trying to figure it out. But we're gonna get through this. But I was reading Exodus, and I was like, Lord, what's going on with the Israelites? And God soon showed me that I am the Israelites. I keep falling short. I keep not seeking him. I keep worshiping other gods, letting other idols in my life. I keep falling victim to other people bringing other idols in my life. You know, I was struggling with what I soon come to understand was that I was in agreement with idols outside of God through the frat I was in. That frat is Alpha, by the way. So I would pause. I was reading through the Israelites' journey in the desert, and I'm like, God, what's going on, right? You see them get delivered, right? They have no reason not to trust in God at the Red Sea, because they literally saw the plagues that crippled Egypt, that freed them essentially. Like, they saw those plagues. They saw those plagues. So at this point, there's no reason for them to not believe that they're taken care of, that they go to God, boom, he responds, he replies, he hears them. So one, they hit the Red Sea, they're tripping, what do we do? Two, they're in the desert. They are like, we need water. Did you bring us out here to die? Three, we need manna. They're like, we're hungry. We were eating good back there in Egypt. Did you bring us here to die again? And with all of these, God is responding. Four, they go up. Moses goes up to the mountain, Mount Sinai, I believe. If not, y'all forgive me, but he goes up to the mountain. He's communing with God, and God says, "Go get your people." They're tripping, in which God's like, "Hey, I might have to take care of them." And Moses advocates for the people. He's like, "God, don't do that. You just freed them. You know, let me go talk to him real quick. Let me go talk to him." He goes down to go talk to them, and he's like, "Oh, that's what you were seeing, God." And he himself goes off because they were tripping. They had built a golden calf, and the golden calf, if you look back in that day, golden, like the cow was like an idol for the Baal god, whatever that false god is. Lower G, Baal, the idol was a cow. They had built a golden calf that they were already like worshiping. They were already there, in which So all that to say, I'm not gonna run through all of it, but in that time I was like, God, these are your people? What's going on with them? What are they doing? These are your people? Like, I never could be me. God soon revealed that was me. There were plenty of times where God told me to do something, told me to move a certain way. I blatantly didn't do it. There was times where I had known, I'd seen him in my life. I was blessed to grow up in America with a mother who lived a life of being devoted to the Lord. I knew what prayer looked like. I knew what time in the Word looked like. Again, y'all forgive me. I'm gonna get something for this eventually. All right, we back. So essentially, I had no excuse, but over and over again, I doubted God. I didn't turn to him when I needed to, and I wasn't obedient. Right? I was the Israelites. There were plenty of times where I fell, or not even I fell. I got scared and decided to take things into my own hands. Where I went and I worshipped and served other gods without me even noticing, just by dabbling in like the culture, like what the culture deems cool. You know, the devil's all up in that, and you partake of it, maybe not knowingly, but you have discernment enough to know that this isn't what I should be. You're not going to take your mom out there. If you're not taking your mom out there, you know that what you're doing isn't where you should be. The Lord wouldn't be there, essentially. I wasn't devoted. So essentially, I went through that journey and paused so I went through all that, read through all that, and I was convicted because the Lord showed me that I am Israel. The Lord showed me that I do fall victim to these things. Little man, don't wake up. Don't wake up. The Lord showed me, the Lord showed me that I do fall victim to these things. Let me lower my voice. I do fall victim to these things. And I am not stable. So in that, my heart was broken once again. I was broken. Like, I was like, dang, man. So I prayed a prayer. I said, God, reveal to me how I'm not honoring you, how I have other idols, how I'm backtracking. And with that, another thing that I've struggled with in the past is being bold. I'm pretty chill. I'll let things go if it's not impacting me directly, or what I'm doing, or the future, or something like that. So I prayed for a change of heart, to be more bold and upfront with things and how I navigate the things of God, and not lackadaisical. And then I also prayed, Lord, make me aware of any idols I have in my life, any idols that's not pleasing to you, anything that I've come into agreement with that's not pleasing to you, anything that I've tried to form by my own means. And the Lord spoke to me like literally moments later, and Alpha came to mind, and I was like, Alpha. And I was like, Alpha, because, you know, you kind of, one, it's like, am I putting that into my own mind, right? Like, did I just think of that, or is that really the Holy Spirit? And then two, because everyone's seen all these denouncing videos, all these videos talking about God told them to pull apart from their fraternity or sorority. And my thought process was, well, God didn't tell me that. I don't see the wrong, you know, hey, but if God tells you to do it, you be obedient to God. You do that. But he hasn't told me to do that. He hasn't spoken anything about that. I don't see it. I heard all the arguments, and I was still like, I'm not going off of what man says. I'm going off of what God says, and he hasn't told me to do anything. And one, that's pride, because I knew and I know that I was not in a position to even hear from God if he was trying to tell me that. And this also came to mind. I was reading the Bible. I'm gonna take a quick break about being in a position to hear from God, and being aware of, if you're not in a position to hear from God, there's a reason that God calls for you to have good counsel. Whenever David did the whole thing with Bathsheba, whenever he was supposed to be at war, but instead he was watching her bathe and ended up having relations with her, and had a kid, and all those things, and killed her husband. He was so blinded. He was in his own head. He was so in the moment that he couldn't see. Oh, the wife is calling. 1 second, wife. I'm gonna finish this thought. He couldn't see. He was so blinded by his present situation, what he was focused on, all he was mixed up in, that he couldn't see that what he was doing was evil to the Lord, was outside of the Lord's sight. He had to depend on wise counsel. A prophet came in, I think his name was Nathan. he came in and he used a parable to tell King David about himself. And he used a parable essentially so David could understand what was right and what was wrong. And then he said, hey, this is you in this situation. So whenever I look at that story, I think there's two things going on that's important. Is the Lord sent somebody else to communicate something to David that he couldn't see himself, even though he was in the thick of it, even though God called David a man after his own heart, even though God had favored and blessed David so much. David was in the wrong. He was separate from God and all this sinning and killing, and he couldn't see nor hear what God was doing, so God had to send somebody in. It is so prideful of us to look at something that somebody's saying God spoke to them about and not even consider going to God about it, but to say he didn't tell me that. And knowing that you're not even seeking God about it, knowing that you're not challenging yourself in that area, you're not sensitive to him like that at that time, that it's so prideful. And that's something that I wasn't aware of at the time. And I should have, right? If you hear somebody saying, or testifying saying, hey, the Lord is convicting this, and I'm not saying everything needs to be, there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of people talking. Definitely have some discernment, but definitely also you should regularly be challenging what you deem to be normal and seeing if God wants you a part of it, if God wants you to be doing these actions, that job that you're starting, the business that you're starting, this relationship you're getting into, the fraternity or sorority, whatever it is. You should always be taking these things to God and saying, do you want me here? Do you still want me here? Right? Because if not, God may send a prophet Nathan. And if he does, you have to be obedient. You have to listen to the words and take that pride away. But get back to it. I saw the videos. It didn't mean nothing to me at the time. But at this time, when God was convicting me, he said, Alpha, Phi Alpha. And that was it. At that point, I was like, God, what do you mean by that? Was that me? And from there, I asked, what do you mean? And he started like revealing things to me. Now, I went through the underground process, and he started revealing things to me about the process and the above ground process as well, that was just not of him, that didn't have him in it. Right? And it just felt dark. It felt it felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing it, to be honest. And when I sit back and I think about it, I'm like, why didn't I remember? It's because there was so much going on. Like, even in the above ground process, like, they make it pretty strenuous. You're not like getting beat or anything like that, or spit on, but it's a high level of, like, there's a lot going on. Like, you have to be attentive. They're throwing a lot at you really fast. So there's even a lot going on in the IMDP, to where you kind of just miss the details and you're like, let me just get this done. And so I was remembering some things, and I'm like, that don't feel like the Lord's in that. I don't see the Lord in that. And so it started to make me more sensitive. I'm like, there was some times where in the above ground process, I was saying pledges, and I don't know why, but I was really serious when I was doing this stuff. Like, they were saying with all your heart and your soul, and I was singing it, right? And I'm like, I felt convicted. I'm like, God said there should be none other before him. God, we see what happened whenever the Israelites made false gods, or when they talked about Egypt that they were from, going back to what God delivered them from, and having other gods before them and all these other things. And that just tore me up. And so I sought God about it. But I was also stubborn. I was like, God, show me in these. I said, I'm gonna do research. I'm gonna go look in the books, our history books, and everything I have. I'm gonna point it out so I know for sure that this is what I need to do, and I can highlight every single thing. And the thing about that is life, and you got to work, you got to do for your family, you got to do for yourself, and all these other things. And I failed in that regard. I didn't do the research, and eventually I realized that it was just an excuse, right? I maybe did a quick Google search to say that I'm doing something. I called some people that I knew were also in organizations, asked them what they thought. But at the end of the day, God's unction, God's pulling is God's pulling. And it's up to you to move. One thing that you have to understand is God's obedience, God's movement most times is outside of what culture deems to be norm. Following God is disruptive. He calls for obedience. He calls for dying to self. He called the rich man to sell everything he had in order to follow God. When the rich man came and asked Jesus, "What can I do to follow you?" Sell everything you have and come follow me. Whenever Elijah went and found Elisha and threw his covering over him, what was Elisha's response? He dropped it. He understood what the role was. He dropped it. He didn't make excuses. Where are we going? How long is this going to be? What's the pay? When can I come back? He didn't ask questions or anything. He dropped it. He understood the call of the Lord and he went. And the details were aligned to him later, were filled to him later. The word says, "Your word is a lamp unto my feet, a light unto my path." A lamp. You're seeing one or two steps with that lamp. All you know is that if you are walking, the lamp will guide your next step, maybe the next two steps. Your responsibility is to walk and trust the lamp. So in this position, I knew that I had a lamp, and God saying this was not a part of me. And along with that, when I was doing all the research, I feel like I was kind of trying to discredit it. I was looking at other pastors and I was going to YouTube. I'm like, is there anything online that talks about fraternities and sororities and why this is actually of God, or combats at least the false idols accusations and all of these things? And I couldn't find anything. I found one, and it found like all the stuff is, we do good things, we help the community, this was established by black people as a space for black people, or it was started as a social group in college, and history that I already know. And I'm not saying that it was demonic or anything whenever it started, but I know that the enemy can disrupt and deceive and tamper with, right? He can't create, but he's gonna sure mess up and tangle up what's going on, right? Alpha was originally started as a social studies club, a social club. So in no way when they first started it do I believe that they wanted it or intended for it to grow into what it is now. For you to say that they started that in 1906, sorry, I'm working on it, in 1906, that they started that with the intention of what it is now, with the intention of everything that it's gone through, they did not. So who's to say that the devil didn't weave himself in there some type of way? When it was a social club, I know they weren't putting up the A5s and yelling chants at each other and being really disrespectful. Actually, also the culture of Greek life isn't reflective of God. You have hymns, like you have alpha hymns, you have prayers that have no mention of God, but have mention of the spirit of fraternity, have mention of brotherhood, have mention of all these things. And it's a mess. It's a mess. So one, the rituals, literally rituals in getting into the organization, even above ground. The culture is not of God. There's no fruit of the spirit. The fact that in most cases, to have any type of respect, you have to get beat into it. And it always blows my mind that I had to date my wife. I had to court my wife, but I never had to do anything like that to marry my wife. I just had to sign some papers, take her out on some dates, get to know her a little bit. I did more to marry my wife. I did more to join Alpha than to marry my wife. I did more to follow God. Well, I have to die to myself daily, but it's different. It's different. I did, in order to accept God into my heart, all I had to do was say a prayer and open up my heart. Alpha, I'm over here getting beat for this stuff, and I'm not getting into the details, but yeah, I don't care. But all that to say, it was just really eye-opening. God changed my heart position. He shifted some things, and yes, I stalled. I shouldn't have stalled. I stalled a lot, but I ended up denouncing. Told the people that were my line brothers, and they were great about it, and that's it. Oh, there was also, at the time, if you looked at my last video, there was another part to all this. if you looked at my last video, I mentioned a dream that I had. It was like 5 parts in one. But one of the parts is I was in a room. It seemed like a college dorm room, essentially. I was with some guys that seemed to be buddies of mine. A couple of us were watching the TV. There was one dude that was sitting on the couch next to me. Now, for some reason, this dude stands out in my mind. Not for some reason, I know. It had to have been demonic. It was something going on. This dude, he looked like a shorter version of Snoop Dogg. But he looked so serious, so intent, like he wasn't smiling. We were all joking around. He was looking at me the whole time. And I noticed he was holding a kid. And then there was awareness that was my kid. He was holding my kid. And in the dream, like, he was holding my kid. And in the dream, he looked so serious, intent, just holding him like this, looking at me. And then switches to a later part of the dream. And I'm like, all right, give me my kid. I'm trying to go. Things are getting serious in the dream. Maybe I'll talk about it another time. But he's like, no, this is like mine. This is mine. And he was very intent on holding this kid. And I didn't get him back. I didn't get my kid back from this guy. And it just, that dream was crazy. There's dreams, and then there's dreams where you feel like you in real life. And there's like the pressure attached to it all. That was one. And that dream put me on alert. Whenever I was reading in Joshua, was it Joshua? It was either the beginning of Joshua or the end of. So whenever Moses is giving his last decree, and he's blessing and his curse, he goes into his whole thing where he's like, hey, if you honor the Lord, if you stay with the Lord, you will be blessed beyond measure, right? You will move into houses that you didn't build. You will eat food that you didn't grow, nor buy, all of these things. But if you fall away, if you worship other gods, if you fall away from me, your generations will be cursed, not just the first, not the second, but up to the third and fourth. And it goes on like that rebuke, that curse is just, man. And that, along with that dream, I was like, I'm a father of 2. I'm like, I have a responsibility. God didn't put me here to make my kids be set back 2 steps. And it's crazy because if you read the rest of the Israelite story, just through on right now, Judges, all of it, they're just falling and seeking God again, falling and seeking God again. And not all of them are even seeking God. But at the end of the day, I felt a responsibility as well to not expose my children to the demonic. To not expose my children to something that they could be tied in or committed to without even, I had my boy in Future Alpha shirts, all of this stuff. I was low key, I would have him in the mirror doing little fake strolls. So that aspect of it just tore me up. The fact that I'm exposing my kid to something rather than protecting them the way that God called me to and stewarding his life. Okay, and tied to that is the story of Gideon. So I had to look it up. Essentially with Gideon, so this is one of the times, it's in Judges, this is one of the times where Israel was falling short, right? They had let other people, other camps in their camp. They are letting other gods in their camp, and they're doing whatever, right? They're worshiping other gods. They're living different type of ways. And so God leaves. He takes his hand off. And it's one of the times where they are being ruled essentially by another kingdom. So much so that he was threshing wheat, and he was hiding while he was threshing wheat. An angel of the Lord comes to see him, says, you will be the one to deliver the people. He's like, nah, this ain't real. He basically tests the angel 3 times. Hey, when I come back, can this pile be wet? Sure. Comes back, pile's wet. He's like, nah, that's not it. When I come back, can the pile be dry? Sure. He comes back, the pile is dry. He's like, oh, great. Okay, so this is you. He sacrifices and honors the Lord. Thank you, God. The angel's like, I'm looking around because there's people walking, but the angel is like, God is choosing you to free the people. And in doing so, he's like, what do you mean me? I'm the least of these. My lineage is the least of these, all of this. And the angel's like, no, we'll be you. But what you need to do is destroy your father's Asherah poles. Asherah is one of the false gods that they led into their camp, similar to Baal, all of these things. So, and Asherah poles were used to worship Asherah. I'm not getting into all that. You go read your Bible. But essentially, what's up, bud? Man, okay. Really quick, because little man's awake. So his danger said you need to destroy your father's Asherah poles. Your father's, not his father's idols. His father's false gods that he worshipped. So reluctantly, not reluctantly, but at first he was reluctant. He went and did it. He did it. The people were like, who did this? He actually went and led the Israelites in doing what he was called to do. But I don't ever want to be in a position where my boys, my children, have to destroy the idols that I've set up in order for God to use them appropriately. That's it. That's where I'm at. And then later on you read Israel is going back and forth from good king to bad king, good king to bad king. And you see that God kind of measures them off of 3 standards. The first being he was evil in the sight of the Lord. The second being he was good, but he wasn't like David. And the third one, which I only saw one other time from King Josiah, saying he was good. saying he was good, he was like my servant David. Man, I gotta go. I want to wrap this up, but I gotta go. He was like my servant David. And the key... You okay, buddy? Okay. It's okay, man. Just breathe through your mouth. The key deciding factors between these 3 levels is being evil in the sight of the Lord is they treated people horribly, they worshiped other gods, sacrificed to other gods. This was like killing kids for the Asherah pole, infidelity, and just like looseness, and just not listening to God. The second one, he was good, but he wasn't like my son David. He wasn't like my servant David. He was good. He did good things. He helped people. He sought me a little bit, or he sought me a lot, but he didn't destroy the systems that were established. He left them up. They were temptations for other generations. He left them up. He sought me. You know, he maybe had a prophet come and speak to him whenever, you know, things were going on. He was good. He sought the Lord in that way. But then with Josiah, the only other person I've seen so far that I could think of, maybe where I'm reading through it'll continue, but Josiah, I know, little man. What's up? All right, let's get out. But Josiah was different in that although his father... What's up? Okay, let me finish this last sentence, okay? Last sentence. His grandfather was evil in the sight of the Lord. His father was okay in the sight of the Lord. But whenever Josiah came into the picture, they came across some manuscripts that had the word of the Lord on it. And the Lord spoke on how detestable it is to have other gods before him, in which he went into a place. You know, he went to a place. He was tore up. He was like, hey, prophet, seek the Lord for our forgiveness. See if he will forgive us. See if he will, you know, if we can do anything. Because honestly, the Lord had already spoken against him in the lineage because of 2 generations back. They were supposed to go through it, his generation. So the prophet said, all right, hey, you sought God's forgiveness. God says he forgave you. So Josiah goes crazy. He's like, bet, we are all worshiping God. He decides to go to every temple, every Asherah pole, every high place that was set up for something else, some other type of lowercase God that was outside of the big G God, and he destroyed it. He tore it all down. He got rid of it. He killed all of the prophets that worshiped those gods, sacrificed babies. Like Israel was going crazy with the child sacrifices at that time, which was detestable to God. And he destroyed it all. And because of that, God said he was good. He was like my son David. He was like my servant David. And because of that, I'm like, I don't want my kids to have to go and I don't want them to have to discover manuscripts in order to be actionable for God. I don't want them to have to go and destroy the temples that I didn't destroy because I wasn't obedient to God, because I decided to be lackadaisical with my following Christ. So because of that, I decided to move and denounced Alpha and all of those things. Got rid of the stuff, prayed, and when I was denouncing, I had no idea how to do it. When I was denouncing, I had no idea how to do it. So I Googled. It said denouncing and renouncing is whenever you leave something and you make a public statement. So I'm like, dang, the public statement. I was usually, so before when I was still in it, I was like, hey, that's great. Y'all can denounce and all of that stuff, but you don't have to be out there. You don't have to post a video. You don't have to talk about what you didn't like about it. Why are you posting negative reviews, essentially? Just leave, move on. But the thing is, God called us to leave as we came in, right? God, like I said, the word is disruptive. The word is bold. Jesus was never just, he was love, peace, and kindness, but he was going against what the prophets of that, not prophets, the Pharisees of that time had deemed to be cultural norm. All of that stuff, it was not normal. He was breaking norms. He was pushing back with love and kindness. So because the thing is, this video isn't made in order to bash fraternities and people that are in this video is made because I am newly awakened to a different side, a new love of Christ, a new intention from Christ that I have revelation in. What's up, little man? Okay, we'll get out. I'm almost done. Give me 1 more minute. No? Okay. A new revelation I have. I'm flowing. I need this to get out. So y'all listen in. I love my boy, but he's gonna have to wait. Listen in. This is a message that comes out of, hey, God did this for me. He showed me this. Be as David. Take the situation, the story, and maybe don't even say, okay, I have to give it all up. Say, God, let me just pray about it. That's it. There is long-lasting impact in following the Lord, not just now, but your interactions as a Christian, how you live your life, disciples, how you live your life, who you talk to, what you're involved in, what you're associated with, disciples, people that are looking at Christianity and saying that they are not who they say they are. That's why I don't follow. People that look at Christianity and say that they are worse, if not the same as me. That's why I don't follow. They're doing the same things as me. Why would I follow Christianity? What do they have other that's different from me? And you, by not choosing to be sensitive, or at least ask the Lord, are strengthening their resolve to stay separate from Christ. They're not seeing a Christ follower. They're not seeing separate from the world. So these are souls. These are souls that the Lord is calling us to win, that the Lord is calling us to speak on. And by you finding so much value in your current self, the role that you have, the history that it has, the fun time that you have, the authority, the status that you have, whatever it may be, by you holding on to these things, that soul may not be exposed to what it needs to be exposed to. That's why I'm making this video, because I told the Lord, I don't ever want somebody to not find you because I'm making this, because I didn't make the video. Because I didn't make the video, I don't want someone to ever not have a relationship with you, or not be exposed, or not find what they're looking for on YouTube or wherever. That's it. That's it. So go in peace. I'm praying for you. If this is a thought that you've had of renouncing and denouncing, pray about it. Listen to the Lord. If you haven't and you're just watching because you like what's going on, pray about it. Pray about it. And if you're thinking about joining a fraternity or sorority, pray about it. Listen to the Lord. Use your discernment. And remember that the things of this world, the things that you are finding joy in, the things that you think matter in this world are fickle. They have no weight, no substance. They will be gone in 40 to 50 years. Nobody will, like your life is this long, but your eternity is eternity. The lives that you're called to win for Christ is for eternity. That is the big picture. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That's all. But I have to go take care of little man here. Y'all be blessed. I'm sure I'm missing out some things. I was going to tell you why I got into the fraternity, what even made me join, because it wasn't on my radar. But that's for another day if you even care. But y'all be blessed. Okay, so I'm going to be real quick. I'm adding on because I forgot something that I know God wanted me to include. So this is like the 5th, maybe 6th time that I've made this video. And there's some things that I haven't included, some things that I'm making sure it included. And this is one of those things I'm including because after I was done with the video that I originally wanted to post, where I felt like the Lord was in it and all of that, I got home and he started just placing things in my mind. So I wanted to make sure I communicated that. Sorry for the school buses. I'm about to pick up little man number 1 right now. Little man number 2's back there, but let's get into it. So, boom, scripture. I'm gonna put it up, but there's another story. There's a story tied to the Israelites, or with the Israelites. There's a story with the Israelites where they are going to war, and they're up against the Philistines. They're going to battle up against the Philistines, and something happened prior to where the Lord is not blessing. The Lord doesn't have his hand on this battle right here. He's not favoring them for this, and they're trying to force the situation. They're like, all right, we're still going to go to battle. We're still going to do this. Boom, they go out to battle. They lose the first day. They're like, what can we do? That was bad. They decide to bring their tabernacle out because surely it'll be blessed. They will be blessed once the tabernacle's out there. So they bring the tabernacle out there, and it goes bad. It still goes bad. So much so that the Philistines take the tabernacle. They beat their behind so bad that they took their tabernacle and they put it in the temple for their own god. I believe it was Dagon or Dagon, something like that. You have to look it up. But this is the interesting part that God placed in my mind. Whenever they put the tabernacle in the temple, they put it next to Dagon's statue. Big statue, big old statue. They put it next to the statue. Boom, right there. They come back the next day, the statue of the false god, lowercase g God, is on the ground in front of the tabernacle. Just boom, on the ground in front of the tabernacle. Okay, coincidence. They lift it back up. Day 2, they come back. The statue again has fallen in front of the tabernacle. This time it's I think it's either its legs or its hands and arms have broken off, and its head as well. And so it's broken now. It's fallen, and it fell even harder than before, to where it broke. It crumbled to some degree. And some other things happened tied to that, but it resulted in the Philistines understanding the power of God, so much so that they sent it back. They said, hey, bye, like away with this. It is essentially, they sent it back. They understood the power of it, and it made its way back home. And that popped in my mind. It's so crazy, because it's not even crazy, but the thing is, today we look at our gods and we're like, our phones are a god, our jobs are a god, whatever you put too much attention to, whatever takes away from God is a god. And that's true. What are you making a god outside of God? That's true. But with that, in those days, people were worshiping actual false gods, like deities, like false gods, like statues. They were sacrificing their children. They were cutting themselves and worshiping gods, which actually had spirits behind them. They were actual gods. I feel like today the message is preached to where we forget about that, and we think it just went away with, and then all of our gods are our cell phone or our jobs. You do have other idols in that those can be before God, but the spiritual side didn't just disappear. The fact that there were gods behind the statues didn't just disappear. And if you believe it was a statue, or even a statue fell before the tabernacle where God's presence was kept, where God's presence resided. And so it's just a reminder, whenever you look at the world, whenever you look at the things of the world, God called us to be in the world, but not of the world. That means that we're outside of the world. We're of the spiritual. We're of God. That is where we are from, and where we are to reside now that we are born again, right? So now the things that we involve ourselves in aren't just always just putting too much time into something. There could be real spiritual attacks, real false gods behind these things, and us being aware and not laughing off or shucking off the possibility and turning to God about it is really, it's prideful, and it's not based in the word. It's not based in God. Who are we to say that stuff just goes? Like, have we achieved some type of knowledge, some type of level of being, to where now what our God warns us against in his Bible is now reduced to a metaphor for things that we put too much time into? We have to be so aware of that, because then Then we're watering down the word to where it's acceptable to us. Oh, that makes sense. Yes, it was a metaphor for don't put too much time into your phone. It's a metaphor for make sure that you don't put too much priority into your work, and make sure that you're always giving room for God, leaving room for God. No, it wasn't just a metaphor. It was actually going on. So much so that Elijah demonstrated the power of his God against the other gods. It wasn't the fact that they were spending too much time praising their other gods. It was the fact that there were other deities behind what they were worshiping, but they were not the God. They were not the God. They were not the highest God. And Elijah's performance in bringing down fire and lighting the altar, while the other 400, it was like 700 prophets of, I think Baal and Asherah couldn't do it. It is the word is not tamed down. These false gods are not just, I gotta go. There's more, but little man's awake and I actually gotta go to get the other one. But y'all be blessed. I'm gonna finish this.